Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with one of probably my favorite streamer content creator right now, Cloudie McDoom, Mr. McDoom. It's an
Uh,
honor to have you here. Let me just
Thank
share
you.
a little bit about you. He makes content for the past several years on Final Fantasy, makes parodies, skits. I know people may have seen him running around conventions. He has a community called The Squall, and I'm just a majorly big fan of yours. I've seen the person behind the video content, and that's what really has drawn me to you. And I might praise you a lot today, and I hope that you're okay
I'm
with
for it.
that.
I'm good with it. I can't blush too dark, but I'm down for it.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you and your time.
For sure, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Mhm. And then again, I mentioned earlier that I did listen to the phenomenal interview that you had with Casanova, so I'm not going to really repeat things. I really want to explore you as a person, the
Okay.
psychology of you, and the community of the Squall. Could you
Okay.
share with people who may not understand? So like think about like non-participants or people who are maybe educators or parents really who are watching their kids like watching your channel. What is it about like content creation as for you as a person and then the community that's behind it, the Squall?
Okay. Well, to start off, content creation for me is kind of taking on a life of its own in the sense that I feel like I need this to function, and I don't take that lightly, or I don't say that lightly, because I'm a very artistic minded person. I have been since I was yay high. So you grow up, and I'm not gonna jump ahead too much, but I'm just gonna say this real quick. You grow up feeling kind of strange already, trying to find your element, and it's like you feel like static electricity, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like you don't feel like you're magnetizing to anything. Like everything that tries to get near you, just like it's not working. It's not working.
Mm.
It's not. So you're just by yourself. So kind of getting into that mindset, growing up, getting into gaming, getting into all this stuff. Now that I'm a full grown adult and like I do this, it's second nature to me. Like I'm being weird. Like if a parent or teacher saw this, as you mentioned, they would say, that's peculiar what that man's doing, running around with the wigs and the props and stuff. I don't understand it. But for me, it's like I don't even stop to think like this is strange. It feels normal to me to do stuff like that. Even though my logical mind understands within society, it's not the norm. For me as a person, like I feel comfortable when I'm doing silly stuff like that, when I'm emulating the game characters and telling my stories and what have you. So that's the first part of that answer. So now to have a community that's gravitated to the aforementioned interest and what I've developed myself into, that's a blessing. I can't really put into words, like a lot of people not just like-minded, but just like the same heart, that really resonate with me and what I do, to the point that we can all kind of recognize ourselves in what I'm doing. So it becomes less about, oh, that's Cloudie McDoom, this thing or this entity we got to put up on a pedestal to, I see myself in that guy. I like that guy because he's reflecting me and like things I've felt. And that's kind of what I've tried to embody. And I'm thankful to have a community that really amplifies that. And I talk with my hands a lot, so you're gonna see that a lot.
That's great. And I actually want to echo what you just said because that's exactly why I'm a big fan. I see myself in your work as well. Like, so not every aspect is similar, but I'm having like certain comments, I'm sure you read them and you're like, there's this humanity that I see within your artwork that not every content creator does because here's the thing, right? I know you talked to Casanova about this, like playing the comedian,
Yeah.
you know, right? As a Black content creator, as a Black person, sometimes you get stuck in that role, but you use it in a way that's very intellectually, um, it's witty, you know, it's like, I see the message here, you're sneaky. You put something underneath as a theme, and it's like, oh, you got me, because you used
Yeah.
humor as a way to deliver it. And so that's one part of like why I'm gravitating towards your work because there's so much nuance. It's like this guy's smart. It's like I
No, I
know what you're
appreciate it.
doing. I see it.
No,
And so
I
like
appreciate it.
of course. And so like when you're on stream, so here's the part that I don't think other people have like talked about. Like I'm a really big fan of your stream because I see it like kind of like you're on stage. Every
Yeah.
day you are streaming, it's a performance for you, right?
Oh yeah.
And what I kind of see as your mods and stuff is like they're the people doing the grip, they're doing like the tracking the tickets, and they're making sure everything's
Yeah.
okay. And then you're the main actor too, right? And so
Right, right.
when it's time to perform, 3, 2, 1, you start, and everyone does their thing, right? And so it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
magic. It's happening at the same time, and you're building this community where everyone feels like they're part of it too. It feels like I'm playing the game, and I'm not good at playing games, which is why again I love watching you stream.
Right.
I'm not brave enough to fail and try again. And I know that feeling. And so like you bring that again, the reality and the realness of this a range of human experience in the things that you create, but also when you're streaming and being just you, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm just gonna praise you the whole time. Like so
No, I'm just listening. I'm just, like I said, I don't take those compliments lightly. I don't like, regardless of how many I get, like, it's not going to be a point where I'm like, I've had enough. Like, please stop. It's not.
yeah, and there's that the humility that comes with it, right? Because I know that over time it's just the nature of becoming famous, becoming more popular. Your community grounds you. And that's why I love your channel too, because your mods, they will continue to ground you. And I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
playfulness. Like but
It's
it's
funny you mention
integrated
that.
into your brand, which is one of the questions I wanted to ask you because so a lot of the things I talk about is personality psychology and archetypes. I
Right.
want to ask you about Cloudie, the character. So
Okay.
when you're performing as Cloudie, which is a character in Final Fantasy, how would you describe his personality?
Okay. So you mean when I do my skits of Cloud Strife with the blind and the. So
Yeah.
I would say his character. It's funny because sometimes I flip flop. So for
Oh,
example, by default, he would have a naturally brooding personality, a very like, I'm gonna keep you at arm's length over there. I'm not really gonna open up or talk to you much. Which is fun to do that, especially when I'm doing like the Sephiroth skits, because it's that funny contrast of overly somewhat sexual energy towards
mm,
Cloud. I'm just kind of like whatever. But on the other side of that, I did a music video just to kind of give you some context called "Gonna Bust for You," and I was Cloud Strife in that. And I had I didn't war with myself, but I had to think about this a lot in the planning stages. I was like, do I stay in character? Do I stay Cloud? Very serious, very. But then on the flip side, do I just let me come out, Cloudie, if you will, like let that hype energy, that happy, that goofiness, even though I'm in this character, and that was kind of where it started to split a little bit. So I was super happy, super over the top in that video, although I'm dressed as Cloud, and it's a really weird headspace I'm kind of taking you in right now. But as far as that character, just being that character in general, yeah, I usually play it serious. I play it close to the lore. But then when I'm just doing silly stuff, dressed as Cloud, I'm just full blown me. So it's like I say, it kind of ping pongs a bit. Oops, let me do
oh,
that.
I want to see your room.
Yeah, yeah, no, I pulled these headphones. I yanked it down by accident. Just kind of yeah,
No
I did that
worries.
on the last interview. My bad. There we go.
So I'm gonna go through some of the other questions. So like when you do that as Cloud and Cloudy, it sounds like it's more of a natural like take wherever your creativity takes you, you'll do it, right?
Right, right.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I will expand on that. So by default, I always commit to whatever character I'm playing. I mean, anyone who checks my catalog, checks my old stuff. If I'm playing Sora, I'm gonna act goofy like a kid, running around, just being silly. If I play a character called Artie Mack, he's like this rugged cowboy, very snarky, very sassy. I stay in that pocket. So it doesn't matter who or Sephiroth, perfect example. He's overly flamboyant for the humor of it, like just to
Yeah.
add to the performance. I commit to that role. So it's there's no limit for me when it comes to playing these characters.
Hmm.
So I guess I just wanted to add that tidbit in there. Just because we mentioned Cloud, I wanted to kind of just mention the
Hmm.
others, just as an example.
Yes. And that's a great like range of what is it? Adaptability that you have, right? And so
Yeah.
are there certain characters or types of people that you have not done yet, but you kind of want to try or keep in your back pocket? Maybe not ready yet.
Um, I have toyed with the idea of when I say more serious characters, I don't mean necessarily like, oh, my kid got hit by a car. I'm so sad. Nothing crazy like that, but I do want to kind of because I feel like everyone has this in them, even if they don't admit it. Like there's that level of crazy that most of us don't tap into just because it's not socially acceptable. I
Mhm.
mean, to be honest. Uh, but I've learned that like when I'm experimenting with my characters, I have that in me in a safe amount. Like it's a
Yeah.
safe dosage of crazy, but like it's there sitting at the bottom. Uh, if you think almost like Joker and Batman or
Mhm.
things like that, I've
Mhm.
always been intrigued by things like that. And the closest I've come, just to give you another example, is my sister. You know, she passed away a couple years ago. So as a coping mechanism, I made a skit called Cloudie versus Death. So I actually
Mm,
had to form this
yes.
death character, and he's super like almost like a an underworld game show host. I guess the best way I could put it. He's very like announcer voice, very like blah 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 like. And that was honestly my way of trying to like keep it together. Like I literally had to form this fictional death. This like I mean, like I said, getting into the crazy persona. He's all over the place, just spouting
Mhm.
off nonsense left and right, left and right. I had to create that as a coping mechanism for myself because that was a very difficult time mentally, emotionally. It was just hard to process everything. Which I mean, I have to. I mean, I'm thankful I had the imagination to do something like that. But to answer your question, that is in the direction of a character that would be fun to explore more. You know, maybe even to greater extremes, but still within reason for what my content is. You know,
Yes.
so.
Ooh, gosh. Okay, so my brain just went so many places. First, I really love that video.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
It was very vulnerable, you know. And as a creative person, so again, the personality and the archetype of a creative, there's always a sensitivity layer that's very gentle. It's so vulnerable, and it feels so many different emotions that you're able to embrace that pain and darkness and visually represent it. Like I'm really happy that you could do that. And you did it in a way where, so I'll name the word intention. A lot of people will have the stereotype of an artist is that we're too emotional or we're chaotic in some way, but you really found a way to channel what you needed to do, and you use the word coping. Yes, it is coping. And so like again, there's this space, which is why again you're my favorite. So like
I
there's a
appreciate
reason
it.
what because you showed that part of you, it made again you're a real complex person. You're not just this comedian all the time. You're not just always doing these skits for attention, which is
Yeah,
what people would do when they criticize a content creator. It's like, oh, you just want the likes, you want the views, like you're
yeah,
trying to be sensational. It's like, no, you are doing all these things. In my perspective, it's because you have a creative outlet. It's all these things, not just humor or video games.
yeah.
Like, but it's layered and it's communicated through video games, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm familiar with. That's my, I guess, call it safe space. That's my happy medium to just say, look, I can tell you this story. I can express my heart
Mm,
if I use wild video game music and visuals and stuff. That's the best way I can talk to you to tell you I'm in pain, I'm happy, I'm overjoyed, I'm all these things, I'm angry. Like that's my easiest way to get that to the public. You know what I mean? Because even with that skit, the core idea, I mean, you saw it, but the core idea was to show two ends of the spectrum. So on one end, I'm just furious, like I'm quiet, I'm not saying anything, my eyes are like evil red or whatever. I can't talk, like I don't want to talk. I'm just furious. And I have that other part of me, which I guess Death would have represented the goofiness I still have by default. Like that's
mm,
still a part of me. So it's like goofy me is trying to remind really furious me, look, you need to not get over it in such a way of like shut up about it, but just accept that this is a thing. Let's come together, cry about it, which is what happened at the end, and then just go back to being cloudy. Just it's a process. It's a
mhm.
you know, it's one of those things, steps to it. So that
Yes.
was the intent for sure. But I'm glad honed in on all that. So
Oh yeah, I'm looking for themes all the time, and so like um, I actually wanted to teach you something today.
all right, bet.
So maybe you already know, but like the thing about one of the archetypes is there's this one archetype called the jester. Um, are you familiar with the jester, Mr.
I
Cloudie?
have heard, yes, I have heard. Like, so I'm not 100% familiar with all the attributes of each archetype, but I'm more than welcome. I'm more than
Mm,
happy to learn. Like,
okay. So just a quick blurb because I think it would help affirm what you're doing. So this is how I see comedians and people who are funny. There's this like umbrella term of the jester archetype. And so if you go like old school archetypes, it's about a kingdom. So a kingdom is led by the king, and the health of the king and the leadership depends on like, or everyone else in the kingdom depends on the health and wellness of the king. But the king seeks guidance from either a magician type of person, but also the jester.
Okay.
So the jester is there to perform and entertain the kingdom, but at the same time, the jester says all these truths to the king, guys in the guise of humor. So
Right.
the jester will say things that people are too afraid to say to the king.
Yeah.
And so the jester has this ability, like, it was just a joke.
Yeah.
But actually, it's kind of true. So if you
Yeah.
take my advice, look underneath, like, actually what's going on. I'm trying to entertain because it's easier to digest that way. At the same
Yeah.
time,
If you're
there's
laughing, you're less prone to kill me.
yes, exactly. Like I don't hurt the messenger kind of thing, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's also layered with stand-up comedians, kind of like they'll also tell the truths of society at the same time. They're freaking dark people, like.
Yeah. 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 Like,
And so I found that like just I'm not creepily observing you, but I'm just like watching your content and
yeah.
getting to know you, right? And so there's this layer of like the jester archetype that is layered in your work where I know sometimes you have your disclaimers saying it's like personal commentary, but at the same time I know, listen here, like it's true. Part of it is
Yeah. Yeah.
true,
Yeah.
and I get it.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And I
The way
appreciate
of the
that.
world, right? And so like
Yeah.
again, everything that you're doing, there's this humor that permeates everything, but truth. You're just delivering truth everywhere where people could just sooner or later it's in their subconscious and they're
They're
like,
like,
wait a minute, what did Cloudie say that other day? You know, like so I feel like
yeah.
you're always delivering some type of truth in a tangible way. So that's what I wanted to teach you.
Oh no, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. It's funny you mentioned that too, because well, I do the disclaimers just because in this day and age, you don't know what you get canceled for. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
maybe if I put this here, maybe the kingdom won't lash out and
Mm-hmm.
put me to death. But also just to be nice about it, I'm like, well, hey, it's a joke. I'm just goofing around. But most people, I'm thankful in the regard that most of my fan base gets it. They're
Yeah.
like, I mean, we know it's a joke. Like it's no big deal. You know what I mean? I've yet to really have anyone come at me sideways like, wait a minute, that skit you did about girls putting guys in the friend zone, I'm offended, or stuff like that. No
Oh,
one's
that's
no one's
pretty funny. What? You're the one where you're Deku.
Deku. Let me think. Oh, right. When I was I with another woman? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's like a big content creator, but I mean, we haven't really done stuff in a while, but back then that was the whole concept of getting with a geek, and we just kind of
Uh,
did some silly stuff.
yeah,
So
I so like you I'm just gonna reference the other conversation you had. I I was so ashamed of being a geek back then. Like it's been hard for me to show more of myself, but like again, your ability to put yourself out there, I know that's what other content creators are doing too. Like you're being brave for people who are not brave yet. That's a big
yeah,
thing. It
no, I
is.
appreciate that. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
so
it's
hard, and so like the psychology and the parenting part that I want to kind of throw in is like parents watching this, like it's big. Like some of your kiddos, even your adult kids, are struggling and having a hard time just to even like wear the t-shirt or cosplay or go to the con. And
yeah.
so what do? We watch the videos. We go to streamers instead. But like there's a part of us who also wants to do it, and it's so hard, you know?
Yeah, and I get that a lot in varying forms and fashions when I go to conventions now. The biggest shock to me was over the past year or two. A lot of people would come up, oh my God, Cloudie, I love your videos. I love this. They'll name like specific videos I've done, and like I'm like, oh man, that's that means a lot. But to echo what you're saying, they will go along the lines of, oh, I couldn't do this when I was younger. I got made fun of for this. I da 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 da. But then I see you, and you're just like going, just guns blazing, running around doing all this stuff, and I just tell them like, I don't know. It's like I don't know, like whatever part of your brain that's supposed to, I guess, stop you from just being super ridiculous. I guess mine just dissipated a long time ago. And I guess it helps. I mean, I have a fan base and a platform. So like me knowing, okay, if I do this silly thing, I have people who are gonna like vibe with it. You know what I mean? So that does help. But even before all that, it was just kind of I guess I'll tell you I'll give you a quick anecdote. You might like this. So when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, right? We had like a school play thing. And our teacher, our music teacher, she said specifically, when this part comes on, I want you guys to like dance and be happy, and like it's an exciting part. So the music kicks in, and I look over, my friends are just, they're frozen. They're just not moving whatsoever. And it's like at least 8 or 9 of us. And my parents are out there watching the crowd, all these people, parents and such. So I look at them, I look out in the crowd, I just start going crazy. I just start dancing, just going just wild with it. The crowd's laughing, goofing around, like the commotion is rising, right? So then I kind of notice my friends are laughing at me, but then they start to move around too. So it's like, I guess maybe I've internalized that moment of like, well, if nobody else is gonna do it, why don't I do it? Why don't I just be the brave one and just throw myself out there? And yeah, and then obviously a lot of other series of strange events, and mostly embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie, happened as I got older, but they kind of developed me into that person who stops giving it, well, stop caring about what people think in that regard. So yeah.
Mm. So it really is important how you frame things when you look back, right?
Yeah.
Some people could be like, that was so embarrassing, everyone was laughing, but you have this way to kind of spin it in a very positive way. It's like, yes, I chose to be brave.
Yeah. My parents were laughing, everybody was laughing. So I was like, in my head, in my little third grade mind, I'm like, I did good. Like I did a
Mm,
good thing tonight. So
I think that's wonderful. That's like something again people can think about, like what's the thing that I can reframe? Yeah, we could have bad memories and feeling embarrassed of the things that we do or automatically do, but at the same time, it's something that you can give yourself or other people. And I know you like to give to people. So I do want to lead into the concept of community. Could you tell me more of like how did the school start? Like has it always been there?
the name, no.
Oh.
So the community, and I actually have to give a shout out to our OG moderators, who their kind of background, like they don't really interact for real. They just, I'll tell their story in a second, but Brand Fakes and Lord Ultimos, I think I made a Discord a while back, right? Uh, I was just going to make one because everyone seems to have one. I don't care. And I made one, and then the aforementioned Lord Ultimos and Brand Fakes, they populated it in a sense of they set everything up for me, like the channels and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I wake up the next day, and there's X amount of people in there. I think it's like 50 or so. I'm like, cool. Um, and I just put the Discord link in my socials, not really thinking much about it.
Mhm.
I was, oh yeah, I have a Discord, everybody. And I guess over time, I guess with the combination of the streaming, the social media videos and stuff, people just naturally found the Discord.
Mhm.
I'm talking in that regard. Like my community in my head is like the whole bubble, like all the
Mhm.
platforms, but specifically Discord in this case. A lot of people came to it, and then before I knew it, it's like, oh, I need moderators, and then people just started to kind of volunteer, like, hey, I'll moderate for you. I like your stuff. You're cool. I was like, oh, nice. Like, like because my mind is, it's hard for me to accept help, and there's a childhood reason for that, but like it's hard for me to instantly accept someone offering me something, because in my head I feel like indebted by default, where it's
Mm.
like
Yeah.
I've got to figure out how to compensate you before you do anything for me. Like I have to figure that out. So when I hit a point where people are like, no, 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 man, I just want to like be a part of, you. And I'm just like, oh, all right, well, so that kept happening and happening and happening. So I'm just like, oh wow, I'm thankful. I just kind of took it as it came. Um, and then before I knew it, it was just these people in Discord just chatting and goofing around. They had channels set up for my videos and stuff or
Mm.
whatever. But like honestly, it was just people who just wanted to goof around. That was pretty much the gist of it. Um, and I can say that's kind of how that part of the community formed. But like by default, just all of my socials together is how that community has been going, where it's like they'll send me DMs,
Mhm.
encouragement, a lot like you were doing at the beginning, like they'll send me a lot of those. So I'm gonna stop being long-winded. The community as a whole came to me for the content, right? And they're still here for the content, but now it's evolved to the point of having an actual community hub, which is Discord. So I'm just hella grateful. That's the best way I can put it. That's how it came about.
Mm. Mm. So I will help explain to people who aren't familiar with it too. So when you think about the Discord, it's an app, it's a chat app for specifically gamers, right? And there's like 1,200 people in the Discord, but I think maybe like 100 people who are pretty active.
Yeah.
Um, And at the same time, I think about the community when you stream. That's
Right,
what
right,
I'm
right,
thinking
right.
about too. So like
Okay, okay.
when I think about the play, right? Or the people who comment or share everything, all the words and the
Yeah.
communication. So when I think about specifically when you stream though, your mods, they give you humble pie every day, and I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And I actually, fun fact, I actually said something to them a long time ago. I remember saying in so many words, I'm like, hey guys, if I ever get like bigger than myself, or if I ever start to kind of do one of these, I give you permission to kind of, you know, reel me back in. I remember having that conversation, like, yeah, we got you. And it was just like a joke thing, but they've stuck true to it. So that's pretty funny. So,
And
you
but
know,
you do it in a way that's very funny, and you provide the options for them to continue
yeah, 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 yeah.
to humble you.
Yeah, I mean it's there. It's like because like you said, it's a show. It's like it's all entertainment.
Hmm.
Because I love doing that. But I also like you notice like they have the option to say things about me, like push a button and it'll like call me, names or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just don't know. I just thought that would be funny. Like I kind of view myself like Michael from The Office,
Oh,
where he's
okay,
like their
that yeah.
boss, but like he's in a high position, but like people still just either like just run over him or like talk
Mhm,
trash to him. It's just a
mhm.
funny, like I always thought that was a funny dynamic.
It
So I
is.
think I've subconsciously adopted it. Not that I haven't even watched that much of The Office. I just know that as a
Mm,
core always made
yeah,
me laugh. So,
I love it. That's great. It is a similar dynamic. That's too funny. Oh my gosh. Um, so I'm gonna go through some of the questions that I have because I don't think I touched any of them. Hold on.
Okay.
Um, Hmm. So I'm actually going to praise you again with how you uplift your community because I know that there's all these aspiring content creators, voice actors. Oh, I want to kind of lean into your role as a director, right? And so you have this community of people so creative and committed to the vision. And so one time I was nosy and I went into the chat, the voice chat when you were
Yeah.
directing the snowball fight. Okay. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I was like, well, I just started playing. I don't have any snow gear, so I guess I'll listen and watch everyone and see what they're doing. And
Yeah.
so you were just so very specific of telling people what to do. And it's like, okay, do this, pose here. Like, and then you're like, really, so in your what is it? Your what's it word for your visual intelligence. So you're using your visual intelligence, like it's so high the way you picture how something a scene should be. And I'm
Yeah.
listening to you play it out and I'm watching someone else's stream. So they went to go visit. It was like the DJ guy. And so
Yeah.
he
Wait,
went to
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm stop thinking.
what do you think about his name?
Let's see, there's DJ Osiris, there's DJ Gams, there's a lot of DJs in rotation.
There
That
are.
night it might have been Osiris, maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Probably put in the chat or in the chat in the
Yeah.
description. So he went and I was watching. So he didn't hear the conversation. I got to hear it because I was in the Discord and he was just watching it. And I was like, this is so fascinating. He's like, sure. I'm like, because he didn't know what I was listening to.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
sure, this is fascinating. I'm like, it really is because you're really directing a film right now. And I got to have firsthand experience of how Cloudie is breaking down the scenes and the breakdown and honoring like the different personalities of all the participants. You had like 20, 30
It
people
was
there. Well,
yeah, it was
it
a
was a
lot.
lot of people. And so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what you were also is doing is like you had an end goal of what it was supposed to look like, and then you had this adaptation. You adapted in the middle and say,
Yeah.
hey, you know what, do this, do that, and then like all these different scenes of where people were at. And just thought that like your brain is acting so quick to pick up all these scenes and like really have everyone show up at least a little bit. And then the way you clipped it and recorded it
Yeah.
and edited it is like, wow, that's a lot of work. And so I
Yeah,
felt
yeah, no.
tired. Actually, the summary of it is like I felt tired listening to it, and then like watching the end result was like, wow, that's so much work.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. And I guess I can credit that to a couple of things. So I used to do like music videos and short films and such a long time ago, specifically in the cosplay community. So I used to do stuff on the fly. So I would see two or three cosplayers dressed as something, and I'm like, hey, why don't you run over there and like make a
Uh,
face with him, and then he'll like my brain would just instantly start moving them. and I just kind of follow the imagery. Because I guess for me, it's like I'll watch something in my head as if it already exists. You know, like I'm watching, like if we put in a DVD right now of something we've seen years ago, like my brain will just play it, and it's like, okay, replicate that, just
Mm.
like make it look just like what that scene, you know. So it just kind of the shots rattle off. So when you heard me in voice chat, that was just me shouting out the frames I'm seeing as I'm gonna edit it, you know. So it's like it's all happening everywhere all at once, just like, you know, almost like that movie. I love that movie, but like it just happens, boom, right there on the spot. And I'm just thankful I can keep up with it, because I mean I should be storyboarding this stuff, but I guess I don't have to at some point. It just it's already up here, so you know,
I'm impressed.
I appreciate it.
I don't have that skill set at all.
I mean, you know.
No, no, I just don't. So, um, I did want to ask you something about like, um, so what's the overall value or the mission that you have? Because I know, again, I'm mentioning the Casanova talk again. You said, I don't know if this is still true, that maybe one day you'd want to have game development, like
Yeah,
production. Is that still a goal for you?
yeah, it actually is. So obviously things change, you know, you adapt to life and what have you. So with the I'll use this as an example because we just mentioned it, the snowball fight from the squad house.
Mhm,
Um, the primary reason I'm doing that web series, and this will go into my game talk in a second, is because I feel like it's my brain's way of trying to check something off the list, right? Because I've been trying to make a web series for years. Like I used to pay people for animation, they screw me
wow.
over. Yeah, I'm just out. Yeah, so like that frustrated me so much, but it was still like a goal. It's like I can't let that die, like that one thing. So now that I'm in FF14 and I found a way to do a web series, I'm like,
Mhm,
okay, let me just at least get through one full season of that, so I can always say I did it. I made a season of a web series, done. I mean, even if people want me to make more of it, I can at least rest on that one. So my goal is hopefully to transition my time into actually making a game, because I know I can do it. Like I'm pretty decent at storytelling. I kind of understand cinematography. Like I know I can at least direct one. I don't know if I could code it. Like I have people in my DMs that I know could do it.
mhm,
There's actually someone, shout out to my boy D Gooding. He's working on like this kind of Final Fantasy fan game based on my three
mhm,
original characters, Artie, Mac, Radicus, Kitty Man. And he sends me updates on that all the time. He's like, oh, here's a battle system thing I did. Because he's just passionate about the skit I made. So here's the
mhm,
crazy part. And you just never know how life's gonna do you. Me making that Final Fantasy skit, like based on the game and all that stuff, inspired this guy of his own volition
mhm.
just to start making coding a game of my characters, you know? Like, cause I remember waking up to that one day and he had made like a full sample video of it. And I was like, whoa, that's me. Well, technically it's just my imagination in his hands now, you know? So like just little stuff like that still pushes me to want to make a game studio. I'm still gonna do it. It's just a matter of, you know, because once I commit to it, I gotta shut a lot of other stuff down. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I can actually focus a lot of energy into it. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Long-winded answer. I'm full of those.
Well, I appreciate that's how I talk too.
Bet.
So it's constant like moving of energy and different goals you have, right? So do you
Yeah.
have them like in the air? So here's like there's this is a practical question for other creatives out there. Do you have an agenda, a schedule? How do you do this? What do you do?
Okay. I can definitely say that my high priority item right now, well, now recently it's Final Fantasy Boss Part 3, but overall right now it's the Squall House Season 1. That's like at the top because I know I can do that. You know, that's that. And then I would say probably doing some more live action stuff, you know, a couple skits here and there. I've been doing a lot of reposts because I'm kind of falling more into the streaming end of things. That's a little more fun for me. So I feel like right now, the level I'm at, if I could pretty much take my fan base that knows me for all the skits and stuff and say, look, I'm going to stream for a bit. I'm going to be over here on Twitch or whatever. Let's do that for a while. You know, let
Mhm,
me entertain you that way live. And then when I'm off the air, I can work on my other stuff. Because even now, and this is the only sucky part, or one of the sucky parts about being a creative, and you know this, like having 1,000 ideas you want to execute, but every day they're like fighting for your time.
Mhm.
Like they're just like duking it out for your time. Because even music's on the it's mixed in there somewhere, you know? It's like music is somewhere in there because I come from a musical family. You know, I've done like little remixes and stuff here and there for fun, and people seem to like them. So it's just, I don't know. It's too long didn't read. I'm not 100% sure what I should focus on right now, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Um, we could talk about that later.
All right.
Uh, I have ideas, but I
All right.
actually was curious, when are you going to make more music? Because you have a beautiful voice.
I
Like you
appreciate
sing
it.
in your streams. Like I actually thought you came from more of a background in music first, because it
Oh,
sounds so much more natural when you sing.
nah. uh,
Really?
nah, like so when I come from a musical family, I didn't do any actual like singing. Like
Oh.
my dad, he sang in the choir. My mom can't sing that well. No offense, mom. My oldest sister can sing really well. My sister that passed could sing really well. And for me, I was too shy with it. So like when I was younger, I didn't really. I mean, I'd hum and stuff to myself for like video game music. I would sit there in my room like or all that's like over and over. And then I grew up, got in a rock band when I was like in my teenage years.
Aw.
And so here's where I realized I had a voice, but didn't really know for sure yet. We'd be in band practice, and then we had our lead singer, and he was pretty good. I mean, he was, my best friend. So like, he would sing. He was like, "I gotta be the lead singer. I gotta." I'm like, "That's cool, man. Go for it." But I would start harmonizing with him or singing, and then our bass player and drummer would kind of be like, "Oh, wait a minute." It was like little moments like that. And then I could tell that my main singer, he kind of, and this is not to deviate too much, but this is kind of one of those moments where if you if you make yourself small to try and make someone
Mhm.
else big, it's only gonna make you want to like almost like what's the word I can look for? We're visual people. What's something where if you put too much pressure on it, like to keep it like compact and it just like explodes?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
kind of like that. Like I was like, I don't want to sing because he doesn't really want to, like he wants to be the singer, so I'm just gonna stay quiet and chill. But I noticed I would start singing more and more in my downtime, writing songs, and then something came out of me like I want to sing now. Things like that. So fast forward to the future, that's a whole other story for another time. The band. Yeah, I just kept doing stuff like that. I listened to Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy, imitated them, and just kind of started.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
now I just sing on stream because it's for more funny for me because I just like to throw songs into whatever situation is happening. And now it's just a habit. It's second nature. So
Hmm. I want to repeat that because the theme is so real for me. I have my own reasons, my own life experience to deal with this too, but like I'm sure it resonates with so many people that we keep ourselves small and quiet for the sake of others' comfort. And you broke out of it though, like you noticed the
yeah,
pattern and you did this thing where I know you've mentioned it before, where you have to be true to yourself and you're authentic. Like, because when you become authentic, that's where everything starts falling into place. You won't,
yeah,
you have to start singing. You have to enjoy
yeah,
yourself. Like you start being more creative. And that's really the essence of joy. But we sometimes, again, we fight ourselves. We don't always allow ourselves to do it.
yeah. And like it was one of the best decisions. Not like I hit a button now. I'm like, oh, I'm master singer or anything crazy like that. But putting myself out there more to have conversations like this. Of, oh, you sing pretty well. It's like, oh, thank you. I didn't think so at one point in time. So like,
Mhm.
it's nice.
Yeah, it is. No, I think it's like, again, refreshing. It's like makes me think of like you kind of like a jack of all trades when it comes to creativity. Like you
Like
kind
a
of
bard or something.
yes, well, like your Baldur's Gate character. He
Wait, my
looks
which
kind of
one?
weird though. Anyways,
Wait, which character?
you're bard in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I got I messed that one up,
You
and now
couldn't
I'm going
change
too
him, and I
far.
was like, he looks sickly.
Yeah,
um,
I kind of yeah.
anyways, I had a thought. Oh, because you're like a jack of all trades in the creative expression, um, how do you manage the energy and want to kind of like how do you pick? I know you talked about like prioritizing, but like practicing or shaping it, do you tend to be like, oh, I got to shape this skill a little bit more? Or are you at the stage of your career where like, I'm pretty good where I'm at. I just need to do what I need to do and not really shape a skill?
I would say I'll give you an example. I'll give you like a day in the life of Cloudie McDoom. Uh, if I get up and go to work, for example, driving my job, I always put on one of my songs to listen, like something I'm working on, right? I listen to it the whole ride there because I'm studying my own voice to say, okay, do I want to make this like, do I want to try this technique when I get home? Do I want to switch my style up here? So I'm like constantly sharpening that up on like dead time or just driving. When it comes to video making, that's 100% second nature now to where it's like, even if I got off this call and went to my green screen room and said, okay, I'm gonna film a quick thing, I know exactly how to like execute that, you know, like I know exactly what to do, how to go about it, throw it on here to edit, and I'm good. So I would say right now I'm kind of just on autopilot, not in a bad way. I don't want that to sound like I don't want my fan base to be like, oh, he doesn't care about what he's doing. It's not like that. I just mean if I get inspired to do a thing, my brain says, okay, you got to make a video for that. Prime example, something happened to me in Final Fantasy 14 recently on stream. And I already know in my head, like, okay, I know exactly how to make this funny from my point of view of what happened to me. You know, like it already exists up here. So now it's just a matter of finding the time to go and do it, put it out to the world, and then rinse and repeat.
That is great. So you're at this higher level of mastery. So my question for this now is for people who want to get into it, people who are following you, people who are interested in the craft.
Yeah.
What was the mindset before you even got into autopilot mode? Because you have to practice and learn so many skills. What were you thinking of like how to keep pushing?
I think something that I guess trained me up was when I used to do the cosplay music videos, right? I used to challenge myself with a thing, and it was stressful as hell at the time. But looking back on it, it definitely honed my skills. So I'd film hundreds of cosplayers at an event that weekend, right? So think about it. You go up to a person, hey, can I film you? Cool. Hey, can I film you? Cool. All weekend. So my goal when I got home and sat down with all my footage was to say, how can I fit all these people into like X amount of music time, you know, X amount of time for this video? And strategically do it to where I can show off their cosplay, but keep the flow of the video going. So that was always like my like I gotta do this. I gotta make that work. You know, I've done music videos, so just do the same thing. I did that several times over. So where now video editing is just again second nature. Like I could probably do it in my sleep if I, you know, if I really wanted to. So like once I had that skill on lock, if we're talking video games, once I had mastered that skill, it's maxed. It's got all the stars, all the points. I kind of said, okay, cool. Now I have to shift my focus to how do I make people laugh in my own unique way, right? Like, how does Cloudie make someone laugh at this thing that he wants them to laugh at? So that just came with a lot of experimentation, trial and error. Because a lot of my first videos long ago, I didn't understand pacing. Almost like the way I'm talking to you, I didn't know how to just like compact it and make it hit the point quicker. Had to learn how to do that a lot sooner rather than later. Because I would get feedback from people and my friends, they were honest. They were like, that one was okay. You know, it just kind of I was doing this, you know, like they tell me straight up. So then you kind of take that constructive criticism, and this is for all the people listening. You take that constructive criticism and you say, okay, next time, let me see if I can get to my point quicker. Let me see if I can, you know, whatever faster. And once I found that happy medium of knowing what my fan base likes, what makes them laugh, like I know for a fact now, like if I do this thing, they'll laugh at that. If I do this thing, no one's gonna care. Like I have that in my brain of like those ends of the spectrum. So that's kind of where I'm at now with that. So sum it up, you know, pick a skill, master that, and then pick the next one, master that to the point where you don't really think about it anymore. You know what I mean? Because I could probably tell you now, and not being cocky, like if I do the skit that's in my head for what happened to me during stream, like I know people laugh at it because they'll relate to it. There it is, relatability. They relate to it, but the fact that they felt the same way, it's like it'll hit the way it needs to
Mm-hmm.
hit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the my three pillars: relatability, humor, and I guess for me, camera and editing skill. Those three things.
Mm-hmm. It just made me think of the picture you were taking.
Playful.
Well, I don't know how long it took. It was I just joined and I just joined the FC. And so like I'm like just hanging out sitting on the ground and you're like, we're gonna take a group picture. And so everyone's just like sitting down posing. And
Yeah,
again, you were directing of where to go. And I was just so new to the world that this was
yeah,
a it was a lot to me, but you had a vision. You had a picture of how things had to be. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. That was the new Squad House intro. It was like 100 of us out there.
Hmm.
All yeah.
So
Yeah,
like,
good.
how do you manage that many people? Because it was a lot of people. It was like for me herding cats, really.
Yeah, so I had help from my boy Kaizen Flair or Hako Flair in game.
I thought Kaizen
Uh,
was a girl.
yeah. No, you'll find out in FF14. I guess most MMORPGs, more often than not, in my experience, it's usually like a dude
Mhm.
behind the character, which is fine. Like people
Yeah.
are it's escapism. But yeah, I found that out randomly in Discord. I'll tell that story another time. But it was funny how I found out. But yeah, he was kind of there getting everyone together while I was still streaming my regular stuff. That way, when I hopped
Oh
off
yeah.
stream, because I told him like, look, I need you to just kind of gather everyone kind of in a nice
Hmm.
cluster. You were there, you saw it, just a nice cluster. Then when I'm off stream, let's just go for it.
Hmm.
But yeah, he was my assistant with that. So shout out to Kai for helping me get all that herding cats, as you said. So
And that's a big part of it. You have to have trust in people when they're able to offer support, or if you can't, like things don't they fall apart. Like it's that support and relationship, that bond. This is again why I love the squall so much. Like it's a genuine relationship. It's genuine friendships. It's genuine everything. It seems like everyone's just like there to kick it and just like hang out and just I'm gonna name some names. Like Jada, she's so real with you. Like
oh yeah. No, she's goofy. Yeah, she's goofy. Yeah,
yeah.
her and Leroy
But
are awesome though.
and like Guffy's always been there. Like I feel like she's your like main protector in the chat.
Yeah,
She's always there to hold it down and to make sure everything's like, oh, the one thing I wanted to mention, like what mods do when you're playing a game, they will change the chat to emotes only. And I
yeah,
love that they do that because they've researched or done the part of the game already. And so they're offering a genuine experience for you where you don't get spoilers. And I
yeah.
think that that's a kind thing for them to do for you.
Oh yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Mainly FF14 because, like you said, they've already played it, they've done it, so they're like, we want him to experience this thing, but like you said, we don't want to risk anyone just spouting off of the mouth.
Mhm.
Which most people are pretty. I say most people
Yeah.
are pretty cognizant of. We don't need to say anything. Let's just chill and vibe. But you always have one or two people pop in like, oh, this is the part with
Mhm.
the
Yep.
the dragons.
Mhm.
Yeah, so but no, they're pretty quick on the draw with that. So no, I love them.
Mhm.
Um, and I will say this, like when you mentioned the community and just like people vibing, um, I've been blessed in a sense that I'm having a more, I guess, I'm having better discernment when it comes to
Mhm.
certain people. So like I think every content creator's dealt with this. Well, you have some people who kind of come through and you
Mhm.
know for a fact, like they want something from you, right? Like they definitely, and it's like, okay, I get it. I understand. Cause I'll get DMs sometimes. Someone's like, oh man, I love your videos. Follow me back. I'm like, oh, I mean, I appreciate the compliment. That's, and then they'll kind of keep like hitting me up, like, hey, you're
Mhm.
gonna, follow me back. Hey, I liked your thing. And like that kind of energy. So where you're kind of wondering, like, uh, do you want like, do you actually care about my stuff? Or was it more
Yeah.
like that flex of, oh, I want this seemingly big content creator again, not even like on the level of a lot of my other peers in the same space, but from their perspective, like, hey, I want him to follow me back
Mhm.
so I can screenshot it. And that happens. Like I'll follow some people back and they'll like post on their story, like, look, Cloudie McDoom,
That's
follow
cute.
me or like my and I'm flattered with that. That's fine. But yeah, point being is that I'm thankful that a lot of the people that I've come around aren't of that caliber.
Mhm.
They aren't looking like, what can I get out of Cloudie? What can I, you know, how can I, what I'm saying? They aren't treating me like that. And that means a lot. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think that's a great way to close this because I wanted to start with community and then I want to end with community because I think that's something that we're all looking for in different ways, right? And it's something that I've struggled with in my life. And I've actually, this year has been my realization year of like, well, if I've been struggling with finding community that with being part of community, I need to find it. And so it took me about 10 months to start chatting more in the Discord. um, but I had to slowly warm up because of like my own personal reasons, right? And so
Right.
um, I think that's something that you do offer. Again, the people that you've gravitated to, all your real life friends too, and the people that support you, they have done an amazing job of making sure people feel safe. Like
Oh yeah.
it's a hard world out there. And so if we can find a way to have fun, enjoy ourselves, and feel safe to share ourselves in
Yeah.
small communities, whether you're streaming, making videos, in the Discord chatting, all of these opportunities are ways for people to feel like there are places where we belong. And I just want to thank you for creating that. Thank you.
I mean, no problem. Like I said, I gotta give thanks again to the mods, the
Mhm.
ones who are kind of keeping everything kind of held together per se. Like I can't do it without them. But I am again thankful for just people like you, people all over my socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Undead, like that just support what I'm doing. Like they literally, genuinely, because that's the thing. I don't think I should express enough love for the people who send me those DMs, especially on days where I'm not really like feeling it. Like I'm just kind of
Mhm.
down. I'm just like I don't have it in me. And I wake up and see like someone just saying, "Hey, Cloudie, I just want to say like I love this thing you did. I was having a hard time. Something happened to me. I watched this. It made me better or feel better." Like little stuff like that that gives me that boost of like, oh,
Mhm.
so like I was down, but this person who was also down was lifted up by something I had done years ago. So like I really appreciate them. So I want to put that energy out there. Just thanks to again that aspect of my community. So
Mhm. Yes. Yes. You have a vision and you have a way of like making it so relatable, like your pillar. And it's like, again, you're so human. Like people have hard days and like especially as a creative person, we feel all the feelings. And so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm really grateful that you have a way to channel it in a really healthy way. And at the same time, we do have bad days. That's part of it.
And
And
I'm gonna ask you this real quick.
Mhm.
Uh, did you ever experience like that phenomenon of always being left out of stuff? Were you pretty popular where everyone's like, "Nah, Booney, come be in our stuff." Come like you were always
a little
because
bit of
I didn't have that.
so extreme. It's actually both. So in certain spaces, I felt like people wanted like maybe the clout or because of what I represent, they'll want me on their thing or want me to have some type of association. And so
Yeah.
it never felt sincere. And so I felt like I'm not truly feeling belonging here. And then sometimes in certain spaces, it's like I don't get it. I just don't
Yeah.
understand why um the community, but I'm trying because I want to find belonging too. Um,
Yeah.
but like in but like so when you say that, I think I'm thinking when I was younger, I had actually just felt embarrassed and shamed and felt maybe sometimes made fun of for the things that I liked. And so I couldn't outwardly express like this is my fandom, this is what I love. And so I would like
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes show it. Like for me, a safe one would be Sailor Moon is safe, right? I'll
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
Sailor
Yeah.
Moon, but all the other anime and the manga and the comics and the thing, I always wanted to dive into that stuff, but I wasn't allowed to, or it was like, that's a boy thing. So like I couldn't
Oh yeah. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
explore. So, but in college, I just like hung out at the comic shop all day long, all the
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
College is like whatever.
But for
No, I guess that's
Mhm.
yeah. I guess that was the reason I asked that because my I guess closer remark if you want to call it that was I think, and I've actually made a little video about this. I was dressed as Cloud Strife and kind of explain the story, but I'll say it verbally. It's something I'll never forget that I feel like shaped how I was gonna be or how I was gonna deal with people. When I was like in the seventh grade, so this was like a long time ago. I went on a class field trip. I'm in the seventh grade. And we end up in a cornfield maze because I live in Alabama, so it's like, like why not? So we're at this corn maze, and I'm kind of trailing behind these eighth graders. And I had a crush on one of them, but that's a whole other thing. But I'm trailing behind them in this corn maze. I'm just trying to keep up with people because everyone's spread out. Like it's like a big ass corn maze. So I'm trying to just follow some people so I can find my way back. And I vividly remember those eighth graders are like yelling at me. It's like, quit following us, stay away from us, whatever, whatever. And they were like treating me like I was a bug. they're like, ew, he's following us, like saying words like that, right? So like I remember registering this. Like I'm young, I'm a small little runt, seventh grader. So I'm lost now in this cornmeal by myself, make it back to the bus. And I remember I try to sit kind of in close proximity to that group. Just, I mean, you want to belong somewhere. It's just one of those things. You're a kid. And again, I remember they yelled at me in front of everybody, laughing at me and stuff like that. So I remember I just kind of processed it. Then I didn't really react. I don't remember looking sad or angry. I was kind of like, huh. So I sat down and I get home and I remember playing Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, my mom was like working late or something. So I was by myself at home. So I'm playing the game. And I remember pausing it for no reason at all. I just paused the game and I started crying like hard. Like it was like super hard, like crazy hard. And I was like, why am I doing this? And I think because I thought about what happened that day and it finally hit me once I was home, safe in my room playing FF7. Uh, but I feel like on a subconscious level, it's like something was like, Cloudie, like, remember this feeling. Remember what this felt like. Don't ever let anyone feel that way. Like
Mm.
never let them feel what you're feeling right now. And I feel like that made me stronger in a cheesy anime way. That made me like stronger moving forward. Cause then it's like, okay, people shouldn't be left out. Even if you don't like them, at least, engage them. Even if you're not like gonna be super tight with them, just don't be a prick, you know? So I've kind of just followed that my whole upbringing. And I guess that's what's kind of helped me, like you said, with the community, just welcoming people, get to know them. I mean, you can find out if someone's trash. I mean, you just gotta at least get to know them first, and then and navigate it from there. So that's all I wanted to say.
Aw, I really appreciate that. And you actually made me go to like my childhood too. Thanks for the trauma. No, okay, so
Oh, my
no,
bad, my
I
bad.
talk about this stuff in like panels and stuff. So side note, I forgot, but I just remembered when I was in elementary school, I used to hide between the buildings. I used to be
Oh
a
wow.
loner. So yeah, I blocked that out because I've been so happy lately. So
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like I
yeah,
belong. I didn't have to think about that. So thank you for helping me not focus on something that is not so helpful.
yeah.
So thanks for summarize. Everyone's like, yeah, booty trauma. So I really appreciate your time, and I do appreciate especially your ability to share nuance and stories, like visually and emotionally, with all the things that we talked about. We talked about a lot of things, and so
Yeah,
I do appreciate your ability to just like keep along with me, bounce around,
yeah,
and again, the value that you have from when you were younger, I think that's a huge part. Like that's the feeling that I do get. Like I couldn't name it before of like you have a mission. There's something that happened earlier and like it is something that I'm hoping many of us, if not all of us, can do to help nurture something that happened when we were younger. And the best part of it is when you can do that for yourself, you can help create community and do it with more people. And that's so empowering. Thank you.
no problem, no problem.
Mhm. I'm going to link all your socials in the description,
Oh yeah,
and
bet.
I look forward to having future conversations with you and just watching you shine. You're just amazing, Cloudy.
Neko or Booney, whichever you prefer. No,
It's like, who the hell,
no,
Neko?
no, my bad. Booney. No one heard that. Booney. Like, no, I really appreciate it for real. And I can definitely say, like, you're a very good interviewer. Not saying I was sitting here taking like notes of like your performance, but just like very warming, very welcoming. The questions were spot on. They were really good. Made me think a lot. So that's obviously what you want in an interview. You don't want something like, hey, you did a thing. Cool. Like, like it was really insightful. So kudos to you and what you're doing, your mission, your goals. Obviously, you're nailing them. I can feel it. So that's really cool. Thank you.
Oh, it's like best day ever. I'm gonna tell my boyfriend tonight. Thank you. So we're gonna wrap it up here, and I do want to chat with you a little bit after.
Okay.
So thanks for watching, everyone. And again, please check back so you can see updates in the future on Cloudy's career. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it. Take it easy, guys.